Welcome back, everyone. It's Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the websites by plebs. Joining us today, very special guest, OG Bitcoiner, Giacomo Zucco. And wait, I should also say the CEO of Zuckbucks, the best pumpamentals in the business.
I'm here just to shield that, so you should not forget that.
All right, but before he starts to shill that, we're diving into the numbers. Let's do it.
Number time! Number time is brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference ever. Adam Back is speaking, Michael Saylor, Naeem Bukele, crazy lineup, and many more dank speakers. And of course, Deadmau5 is spinning on the last day of the conference, and you can take advantage of the link down below to get 10% off your tickets to Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 722,105. The Bitcoin price, 41,700. Chain rewrite days, 739. Total public lightning capacity, 3,427.60. Moscow time, 2398. Blocks to the halvening, 117,895. And an all new metric that we've added at the request of one of our viewers is the Samurai Whirlpool unspent capacity, 4,397.70. And for the people who don't know what that is, Samurai Whirlpool is a mixing service, and the unspent capacity is the Bitcoin that is currently in the mixing service. Nico, the numbers.
This is true. All right, so Phil, I don't know what special signal do you have today for the number section.
Okay.
Is it a hopium day, or is it
I don't know if it's hopium or it's more of a discussion point, but it was something, it has to do with Lightning, and we are going to take a look at it right now. This was actually, it was a tweet shared originally by BTC Sessions, and I saw this voltage.cloud. Okay, I'd never heard of this before. As you guys can see, Bitcoin infrastructure made easy. Voltage offers enterprise-grade infrastructure services for Bitcoin. Build, deploy, scale faster with Voltage. Okay. So let's take a look. Start using Lightning faster than ever. Quick and easy onboarding, dedicated nodes made just for you. Sensitive files are encrypted, your password client side, and adjust your settings how you want them. Okay, so this to me, why is this signal and why is this part of the numbers? What's interesting to me is that we now have what looks like to be polished, or the beginnings of polished hosted services for Lightning. I think that's a bit of a double-edged sword, and this is why I brought this up. I wanted to get everyone's takes on this, because I see it as a good and a bad thing. Like, I appreciate having a general dashboard to manage Lightning, to manage Lightning nodes, and I can appreciate that as a service from a third-party company. But I'm not 100% sure how I feel about the hosted Lightning nodes, because this offers this introduces an extra layer of centralization, I think, into the Bitcoin network. So I understand that it makes it easier. It lowers the barrier to entry, right? But at the same time, it introduces this layer of centralization. So I'm not really sure how I feel about it. So I wanted to get your guys' takes on it. And Nico, we'll start with you, and then we'll move over to Giacomo.
Yeah. So I had remember when we had the Nodal guys on, and they offered nodes on cloud services, I kind of had the same type of question. I was like, why would you run a node on someone else's computer? And I remember one of the Nodal guys was essentially saying, hey, look, there's a lot of people who travel, and then when they travel, like they're not tied down to any places. They're Bitcoin nomads, right? So I think that there is use cases depending on your type of situation. Now, ideally, you wouldn't want to rely on someone else's computer, which is what cloud computing really stands for. Mm-hmm. But I think that, in particular situations, I think it's better to use something like that than a custodian, right? So I think it's just it's just a matter of trade-offs. Ideally, you don't want everyone using that, because I think that would be a problem. But I think that if it's offered as an option, I think that people in particular situations, I think it would suit them. I had the same attitude that you did, but then the Nodal guys were like, yeah, but bro, wait a second. There's a lot of Bitcoin nomads that kind of need this. So maybe for them, I think it's useful, perhaps. I don't know. Giacomo, what do you think?
Yeah, I fundamentally agree with you. There are, when you have two extreme, which is total trust and total sovereignty, and you offer something in between, you can either attract people that were actually that were staying in the total trust field, and so you are moving them gradually towards sovereignty, or you are just seducing people that would have some incentives to stay sovereign into becoming lazier and to get a little bit more centralized. So it depends which way you pull the most. I think we have to make at least three distinctions. The first distinction is that when you use somebody else's machine, so cloud, for keys to store your keys, that's usually very, very bad, because then you have, if the things catches on too much, you can have massive confiscation. If you just use the machine for, if you just rely on the machine for something else, like a viability online or a block information, it's still dangerous, because if you have the same entity controlling everything, you can have a New York agreement type attacks. But it's less dangerous, because if you have censorship or fraud, people can still withdrawal gracefully. You have a graceful fallback on sovereignty. In this case, like with Voltage, it's a little bit, with Lightning, it's a hot wallet, so you have the keys on the node. So using hosted servers for stuff like Electrum server and or other kind of stuff is actually, or a BTC Pay server receiving, it's actually fine, mostly because the probability that some entity will actually tamper with your addresses is lower. While if you leave your keys on, like in Lightning, it's a little bit more dangerous. But again, if you are helping people withdrawing from completely centralized stuff, that's better. And often that's the case. The second distinction is, I think, between private people, individuals, and companies. If you're thinking about a company infrastructure, for example, you are in El Salvador and you have to accept Bitcoin because you are McDonald's and it's the law, then, I mean, okay, you're not very sovereign if you're using an hosted service, but these are company funds anyway. They are very, very easy to confiscate at the legal level. And if they are confiscated, you are not going to just run away with the keys often. So when you have a structured organization, which is a legal entity, which is easy to censor in itself, having a censorship resistant infrastructure is usually redundant. So I will actually urge individuals with their private stacks to stay, if they can, to stay self-hosted, while corporations, I mean, what's even the point? I mean, it's true that the head of McDonald's in El Salvador can still run away with the Bitcoin if there is confiscation, but it's unlikely. And the last distinction that I will probably make is that it's really, it depends if you need to be connected with many people, if you're offering a public service. So imagine that you have your Raspberry Pi 4 at home with Lightning, and now you want to receive payment. You have to share your IP, or you go over Tor, and then you just share an onion. But then imagine that you have an e-commerce on ClearNet, because I have giacomozucco.com with a payment option. And now I have to show either my IP or an onion service that will not be integrated in the browser of normal people. Just people with Tor will be able to see my website. So either I do some kind of complex Tor to IP bridge or something very complex, or I want to host my BTC Pay server on Luna node just because it's easier for people to pay me. Yeah. So it's nuanced. I think, let me close with this. It's better to have none of this solution on an extreme, or many of this solution. The important thing is not just to have one big solution that takes over everything. So the more, once you have one, the more the better. So at this point, welcome for many other hosted solutions.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And, you know, it's nice to see similarities between the answers. You know, when we had the Nodal guys here, he had the same type of answer. He's like, bro, look, it depends on the situation, you know? So it's not like, yeah, if it's for you personally and you're at home, right, and you have like a fixed address, right, and you're not going anywhere, it's like, yeah, you know, run a node through Tor, whatever, you're planted there. But for someone who's on the move, or in your situation, Giacomo, what you're talking about, I absolutely agree. I think it's better to have the options, and I think it's important to be aware of the trade-offs between all the options, because even the most sovereign option, right, which is my personal favorite, has a fuck ton of trade-offs. Like, whether you want to see it that way or not, it's harder to build a fucking node, even though it's easy. You know, in my head I was like, it's so fucking easy. Yeah, but you know, when I first started, no, it wasn't easy. You're like, what the fuck is a Raspberry Pi? You know, so yeah, man, I definitely agree. I think there's trade-offs, and then the trade-offs to this is, again, it's not your computer, it's someone else's, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah. Is that it, Phil?
Yeah, no, that was it. That was it for that piece. Yeah, exactly. You know what? I figured we got to start to have, we got to have more of these conversations. And you know what? It also made me think, while I was listening to both you and Giacomo, it made me think, well, you know what? Maybe this is also going to help along the development for maybe an easier and somehow a more compact Lightning node that somebody can just bring around with them. Like, I know for a while what I was doing was that I bought a power hat for my Raspberry Pi, right? So it could be powered without having to plug it in, and at the same time what you do is that you essentially connect it to your cell phone. Right? You use your cell phone as a hotspot, and then technically you're running a Lightning node everywhere you are. But going back to your point, not everyone is going to just figure that out, right? So, anyways, it's it's
Also,
definitely.
I think we will have distinction. We will have also tiers of users of Lightning itself. Not everybody will do active routing with liquidity. Most people will just connect. I mean, I hope that most people will stay sovereign with non-custodial Lightning wallets, but they will just keep the keys with a private channel with some trampoline, and people that will actually manage routing, they will derive some money from that. It will not be as huge as mining, but there will be an economic incentive to do that right. So there will be incentives to actually have a place to put your hardware, to route, to manage liquidity, to balance channels, and then somebody will just plug in, rent liquidity from something like Loop or Pool, and then they will just pay and receive payment. So I think that having two-tier systems, it's not ideal compared to a pure peer-to-peer architecture, but it's realistic. I mean, it's way better than centralization.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. Amen. I agree. Lots of signal there. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Fail.
The Daily Fail is brought to you by Amber App. Check them out, amber.app. It's Bitcoin made easy. It is the easiest way to buy Bitcoin, a Bitcoin stacking app by actual Bitcoiners. The link is down below.
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
Let's dive into these. We've got 2 NFT stupid stories and a shitcoin failure. Let's start with the first one. Now, I'm not 100% sure if Kanye actually wrote this, but I do find this pretty funny. This is from raptv.com. Just in, Kanye speaks on NFTs. My focus is on building real products in the real world, real food, real clothes, real shelter. Do not ask me to do an effing NFT. Yay. Ask me later. Okay, so... And then supposedly here, look, Kanye West, stop asking me to do NFTs. I'm not finna co-sign. For now, I'm not on that wave. I make music and products in the real world. Even Kanye's not a fan of NFTs, huh?
I think if you just break it down on the most simplistic way, right? He's just seeing it like, he's seeing it in the most right. Again, he doesn't have the biases that we have, right?
No.
We've been in Bitcoin for a pretty long time, so it's like we're kind of seeing it from the Bitcoiner's lens, right? He's just seeing it from someone. I don't think he's involved in the industry. He's just an artist, and he's just seeing it on the most basic level, dude. And I think there's so much truth to this, right? That I think speaks a lot, right? Where it's like at the end of the day, right? If you're buying an NFT, you're buying a picture, a copy of a JPEG, essentially. Mm-hmm. You're buying something that's in the digital realm, and because it's the digital realm, you could make an exact photocopy of it versus real art, right? In meat space, right? Mm-hmm. Like, dude, try making an exact copy of a painting. That's extremely difficult to do, right? So I don't know, bro. It's so simple, this message, but I think it holds a lot of weight, at least in my eyes.
Absolutely. Okay, here. Let's finish up the NFT portion, and then we'll move on to the shitcoin, and we'll get Giacomo's comments on NFTs before we move on there. Okay, so this is a tweet from Sean Fay Wolf. Not even sure. Oh, that's right. Neurosploit tagged me. Okay, good. I just wanted to see how this ended up in my feed. So here we go. No, F this so hard. NFTs have zero place on YouTube. They don't grow a connection between creators and fans. They divide people more than ever before. NFT integration into YouTube is absolutely unacceptable. And let's take a look at the messaging over here from YouTube. We're looking further ahead to the future and have been following everything happening in Web3. Please note the Web3 stuff they're talking about is not real Web3. This is just the garbage nonsense that A16Z is pushing forward as pretended Web3. It is not. Anyways, as a source of inspiration to continue innovating on YouTube, the past year in the world of crypto, NFTs and even decentralized autonomous organizations have highlighted a previously unimaginable opportunity to grow the connection between creators and their fans and to rug pull more people faster. No, sorry, that was my own piece. We're always focused on expanding the YouTube ecosystem to help creators capitalize on emerging technologies, including things like NFTs, while continuing to strengthen and enhance the experience creators and fans have on YouTube. That just totally kills me. Doesn't surprise me, though. Does not surprise me in any way, shape, or form. So, Giacomo, I'm really curious, man. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on NFTs?
So there was coincidentally a tweet just a few hours ago by Sergey, the CEO of Bitrefill, Zigamon, and he says, just retweeted it, it says, NFTs are a vast improvement upon ICOs. With NFT, you don't need to read white papers and assess technical mambo jumbo. You only need this picture looks pretty and this launch team is cool to mentally get yourself to respect the pump. From the Ponzi economics, from there, the Ponzi economics are the same, which is true. I mean, I think this is better. In the case, of course, NFT are just a byproduct of Bitcoin price cycles. When there is a Bitcoin price, the Bitcoin bull run, then people will enter because of the price dynamics. They will try to get rich. Then they will see that Bitcoin is not growing as fast as they expected, as their cousin told them a few months before. So they will try to diversificate, and they will just follow any kind of bullshit. And this bullshit usually consolidate into some specific narrative each cycle. So there is the Bitcoin 2.0, then the ICO, then now it's mostly the NFT and Web3 and something like that, but mostly NFT this time around. And so it's just a product of the psychological cycle of people that want more volatility from Bitcoin in the bull run. But I think that the amount of pretense of pseudo technical bullshit is actually decreasing, because right now it's actually more honest. You are basically buying the privilege of saying that you buy something which you're not buying, and there is a JPEG that everybody can see and everybody can copy pixel for pixel, but you just have like a signed message that says that you are cooler because you paid me instead of not paying me for that. There are some technical problems even with just that. Even if you see that as a transferable autograph from the author, it's still problematic because there have been experiments of actually replacing the image because the infrastructure they're using, which is Ethereum, totally sucks even just for that. But I think at least the message right now is simple. There is no pretense of, there's no pseudoscience to hide the pure pump and dump essence of the cycle we are seeing. Coincidentally, I think, or not coincidentally, many intelligent normies are actually seeing into these better than it was with the ICO bullshit. Like, I remember when we had the altcoin bubbles, many people that I consider intelligent but completely clueless about Bitcoin fell into that. I don't know, in the political field, I don't know, Jeffrey Tucker falling for big cash, a lot of stuff like that. While in this very case, people that are smart, kind of smart, even completely unaware of Bitcoin specifics, they kind of see it through already. Like, not just Kane West, but also South Park writers. There was a South Park episode about NFT. So that people are a little bit smart. They take very easy shots at these recent bullshit cycle.
Man,
Very well said.
So well put. I completely
Yeah.
agree, man. We've been saying it on this channel too. It's like this, and Giacomo, like my class is class of 2016, so I just remember the ICO boom, like, you know, and then I'm like, oh, these are the new ICOs, you know, and then it's funny though because this time, unlike the ICOs, this time you have big ass social media companies taking part, right? You saw Twitter, you know, it's we're offering an NFT, and it's like, but I could do the same thing. I just because differentiate, because they have to, you know, at least make the sucker believe that they paid for something. Their NFTs is a hexagon, and if you have a hexagon on your profile, it's because you paid for whatever. But it's funny because on you know, on editing stuff, you could make an exact copy of that hexagon, right? But it's absolutely hysterical. And what's hilarious also is that these platforms will go above and beyond, even get out of the way sometimes, to offer everything but Bitcoin. And the reason they don't offer Bitcoin is because they cannot monetize it. They have to get in line like everybody else, right? And think about it. It's like, yeah, we could put a place to add a Bitcoin address. If you want to help creators so much, right? YouTube or Twitter or whatever. I know Jack took, you know, Jack, because he's a huge Bitcoiner, so he added to Bitcoin. He added Bitcoin functionality to Twitter. As soon as he left, the shitcoiners took, you know, they just came in. They're like, yeah, you know. So it's like, it's not that you can't offer this, right? And if you really want to help
monetize,
if you really want to help creators, right, and you know you're a platform like YouTube and you're huge, don't you think it would help creators, especially in countries that have very volatile, you know, fiat currencies, they have volatile inflation, or perhaps creators that in totalitarian countries, now all of a sudden for the first time ever, those creators could get paid. But because they can get paid, that doesn't mean that Google is going to get paid because Bitcoin is peer-to-peer. So again, like, it's like, yeah, you really want to help creators if you could take a cut. And that's exactly what NFTs are going to enable you to do so. So it's just, it's cheap ass virtue signaling. That's what I see here. Offer Bitcoin and then we can have another conversation. Phil?
Yeah, before we move on to the final piece of the fail, I just want to add... shit! I forgot it! Okay, before we move on to the next fail, I just want to add to Giacomo's point, okay, about the ICO cycle, right? There was so much more, there was so much more meat and potatoes to the ICOs with the white papers. Look, I remember in 2017, I used to spend hours reading through these white papers trying to figure out the difference, the nuance, and like, what does this really mean? And is this really better? But NFTs are a simple, it's a scam at a lower common denominator, right? They don't want to deal with a person that's going to go and try to figure all this stuff out. They want to deal with a person that immediately just sees the sparkle and the shine, right? All the glitters is gold, and just goes, oh, I need to have this, and that's it, you know. So it goes back actually to a point that Gigi made a while ago, that the scams are going to get simpler and simpler to attract people faster and faster because they know that people are going to figure out that they're scams. So,
I think
anyways,
this is also, I mean, for me, it makes them even at some point more tolerable. It's like the point is that in a way they are worse scam because they are even worse nonsense, but they're preying on people that sadly would fall for something else anyway. So there's like a zero sum of damage here. These people were just going to slot machines, if not NFTs or something like that. You can really help them. And with more sophisticated scam like Ethereum, you are actually wasting potential time and reputation of some smart people. So when you create an elaborate scam, you actually are wasting talent, reputation, intelligence, and money from people that could have done something better with their life. While when you go really basic like this, when you go one coin, you create less damage to the world ceteris paribus than when you go with Ethereum, in my opinion. I know it's paradoxical, but that's the way I see it.
mm-hmm.
Absolutely, my friend. But anyways, Phil, what is the next fail?
All right, let's wrap up the fail segment. Here we go. So this was a tweet that we were tagged in by Hodlosaurus Rex. What are we talking about? That's right. Fake Grimacecoin jumps 285% after a McDonald's Tesla joke. That's right, guys. We've got a fake McDonald's coin that jumped 285,000% after a series of tweets. But the whole reason why we're diving into this is much less about that and much more about the fact, you remember how we always talk about proof of work and why it's worth something and the fact that people are putting in their resources. So as we go through this article, you're gonna start to notice what it really takes to make a shitcoin. Because I've explained it multiple times, but it seems that people, for whatever reason, don't understand. It's almost free. Why is it going to be money? Anyways, a token created after a McDonald's joke tweet surged as much as 285,000% in a few hours as opportunistic actors jumped at the chance to make cash in a tepid shitcoin market. Only if Tesla accepts Grimacecoin, McDonald's said on Wednesday morning, referencing its purple mascot fashioned after a taste bud. The tweet was in response. I never actually knew that Grimace was modeled after a taste bud. It's kind of interesting. Anyways, that tweet was in response to Tesla CEO Elon Musk's tweet on Tuesday, I'll eat a Happy Meal on TV if McDonald's accepts Dogecoin. So great, right? We've got Elon back shilling another affinity scam, and now we're dragging McDonald's into it. Fantastic marketing, right? Fantastic marketing. Okay, here we go. There's the joke Grimacecoin that doesn't actually exist. While McDonald's hasn't pivoted to a crypto token company yet, Wednesday's tweet spurred the creation of, and this is the key, nearly 10 Grimace coins on the Binance Smart Chain network alone. That's right, 10 shitcoins, poof, just appeared out of nowhere to steal your money. See how quickly that happened? Here I am, give me your money. Anyways, anyone can call a smart contract and issue tokens. We know that. For a few cents. For a few cents, people. That's right. No proof of work, no ASICs, no value, just a couple of cents and boom, your shitcoin exists to scam. And the presence of decentralized exchanges means tokens can instantly be issued, supplied with liquidity, and traded soon after. The premise doesn't matter. If there's money to be made, peddling trendy topics, expect a market for it somewhere in niche shitcoin circles. I feel that this article was written by possibly a closet Bitcoiner. Because I haven't heard too many people writing articles for CoinDesk that refer to shitcoins unless they have to. So I feel like this person might have a bit of a distaste for the shitcoins. Anyways, the token reached a market capitalization of nearly $2 million at peak prices. It was worth $800,000 at press time and has over $65,000 in a liquidity pool created and supplied by users. Blockchain data, however, shows, again, more signal, 93% of these tokens are owned by a single entity. Grimace coins weren't limited to the BSC network. An Ethereum-based Grimace coin surged 56,000% in the hours after its issuance. It reached 1,000 holders and a $6 million market capitalization, with developers positioning it as the first one on the Ethereum network. I know, it's like Giacomo's just shaking his head. I know, this is so cringe. Oh gosh, okay, let's wrap it up here. The crypto market is equal parts legitimacy and memes, and this is where the author lost me. Serious investors and developers build financial services based on smart contracts to allow global users to trade, lend assets, take out loans in a permissionless setting, in line with the ethos of relying on technology instead of third parties to access financial services. What? I'm sorry, but the shitcoin market is not equal parts legitimacy and memes. It like that. You know what? That first piece where he was referring to them as shitcoins, I was like, okay, maybe this is a Bitcoiner. But that last piece, he's a shitcoiner that just doesn't. Maybe he's on the road to being a Bitcoin maxi, but like he's still in this shitcoin may have a use case, So it's like, oh gosh, before, guys,
he is too smart to fall for the obvious, but not smart enough to not fall for the less obvious.
So look, I mean, is this peak? Is this like peak shitcoin market cycle right now? Because I remember back in 2017, we got to a point, right, where it was like multiple ICOs a day. Like they had to extract as much cash out of that market as quickly as possible. And I feel that Grimacecoin may be a sign of that.
Man, I don't know, but it's fucking hilarious. At this point, nothing surprises me. Elon is either a genius, essentially milking everyone to buying this, small market cap coin so he could pump it into infinity, pump his bags, or he's just trolling everyone. He's just a bored billionaire. It's just, man, but it's just so fucking funny, dude. But dude, if you've been in this long enough, you're not surprised. Like this happens it's like what Giacomo said, this happens every cycle.
But also I think that of course this stuff of the name trolling is funny. Not the first time it happens either. Like there was I think that the Bitcoin Next scam also started partially because the ticker was similar to the before Bitcoin Cash became BCH, it was actually BCC, and so the promotion of BCC actually triggered the marketing of this BCC that was already existing, that was actually BitConnect. The best shitcoin on the whole. At least they had the real, exactly, Carlos Matos technology, which is the ultimate evolution of the blockchain technologies. But anyway, I think that the point you made about this article is great. This article is really touching the point. It's about many people think when they confront Bitcoin's so-called maximalism, which is just common sense. They think that the point is about a specific flow in some specific shitcoin. Like, okay, this shitcoin is wrong because this part is wrong, but if you fix it, this can be better. But the point is exactly about how easy it is to create money. Bitcoin is about digital scarcity. It's scarce. It was Nick Szabo called, well, I cannot say that in English, but costliness, which is difficult to forge.
Unforgeable costliness.
Thank you.
That's
Every
such a
time I
tough
try
one.
to say that, I just get. And so Bitcoin is about that. And if you already move into many Bitcoin clones, you already have Bitcoin is scarcity. So you have demand. The demand for Bitcoin can rise, but the supply will not rise in response. It will stay inelastic compared to demand. So you have demand that can fluctuate and supply that stays still. When you add to Bitcoin several Bitcoin clones, even with proof of work and stuff like that, now you have the demand surging, and now you have the supply that can grow to accommodate the demand, because you can create just as many clones as you want. And when you move from proof of work shitcoins to pre-mine and ICOs and tokens on Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain, you are basically decreasing every time the cost to produce new supply of shitcoins. Basically, cryptocurrencies are not scarce. They cannot be scarce. There can be as much cryptocurrency as you want, always responding to increases in demand. There's just as much as you want. It's like at the beginning of the lockdowns, Americans were actually storming the supermarket for toilet paper. And somebody could wonder, is toilet paper becoming the new gold? Like, no, because the more you want, the more they will just print toilet paper. There's no costliness into forging that. And this is and this kind of meme coins are the representation of that in the best possible way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's false scarcity that gives the illusion of scarcity, but in reality, it's what you said, it costs nothing. I think it's even cheaper just to make another shitcoin than it is to make more toilet paper. That's how fucking shit they are. Anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Meme Review. The Daily Meme Review is brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's different artwork every volume. This is volume 10. It just dropped. Look at it. It's freaking beautiful. There's a lot of details in there. It's stories, articles, comics, and it's scarce. There's only 1,000 copies made per volume. Get your print of Citadel 21 today. All right, everybody, check out the memes. We got 6 memes for you today. We increased it one. Anyways, check it out. It's by Honk Hogan. Trezor adding AOPP. For those who are not in the know, AOPP is essentially the Swiss government promoted type of KYC where what they're going to start doing in the next couple of years, we've been calling it, if you've been following the show, this should not come as a surprise to you, but as governments and nation states try to clamp down on Bitcoin and try to make it like PayPal, like what they did to PayPal, you know, since PayPal came out in the 1990s, PayPal was this awesome companies and governments and bureaucracy just squished it, and that's because PayPal is centralized. They're trying to do the same thing. They're trying to morph and make Bitcoin into a branch of the existing legacy system, but they're going to learn sooner than later is that they might be able to regulate on and off ramps, but they will not be able to regulate Bitcoin. So AOPP is essentially you have to sign to prove that you own an address. But here's the thing. After your money is out of the system, you could do anything you want with that. And there is no AOPP. Even though they're going to try to force it on top of it, it's going to be a hell of a fight. That's all I got to say. Anyways, Trezor adding AOPP, Blue Wallet removing AOPP. To give Trezor credit, though, they did remove it as well after the community find out what they were doing, what their shenanigans were.
It's a niche meme.
It is a niche meme. Next one is by RD.
So may I stop you guys about that, because I don't want to get too long, but I have some insight on this, and I think it has been a little bit misperceived. It's a huge narrative fuck up, in my opinion, but technically it's a little bit more nuanced. So the Swiss government basically a few years ago, and I know because I left the board of the Swiss Bitcoin Association on that because I was disagreeing with Lucas, the president. Basically, there was a negotiation that if they did this kind of weird signing message that doesn't prove anything, because even if you want to pay somebody else, you can still ask him to sign the message for you. So it doesn't prove anything. In exchange, they basically let the exchanges like BT to avoid KYC under 100,000 francs every year, which is a pretty huge sum. And they released basically the request for chain analysis to the exchanges. So they said, if you sign this stuff, you are free from other encumbrances. And so the Bitcoin Swiss Association basically used these as a strategy, as a 3D chess strategy to actually decrease the amount of KYC and chain analysis. So it was a good thing in the short term. There was an argument against this anyway, like Peter Todd was saying back then already. This is a bad idea because even if you get some privacy more by this deal, in the long run you are legitimizing the narrative about it. You are making a deal with the devil, so you shouldn't. And I agree with Peter, and so that's why I actually peacefully stepped down from the board because I was disagreeing with the president. But the reason AOPP idea was coming about was actually to allow Swiss exchanges to not KYC and to not chain analysis. And that actually works because I criticized the choice, but then again, since more than 2 years, I'm using this loophole to get a lot of KYC free Bitcoin. And there have been some business like Rely. Rely is an app. Since using this kind of message signing process is annoying, is slow and not annoying, people are actually pissed to withdraw from BT, for example. So Rely is a mobile app that will sign for you in a way that you will not even see. And so what you can do, you can just put on an Android simulator on your computer. You can just fire up 100 emulators with Rely app, and now you will just have a payment for any kind of Swiss or a foreign IBAN without KYC for that amount of money, which is working pretty well. You can even use that in conjunction with BSQ. So short term, the idea of AOPP and Rely was actually a good idea. The problem, what I think, started when people that if you are an exchange or if you are helping an exchange like Rely, that makes sense. That may make sense. It's arguable. When you are a software wallet or an hardware wallet like Trezor, at this point you are just the risk of legitimizing the KYC bullshit narrative is higher than the actual advantage you're giving to the user. So I think that was the point where the community, but I think that it's fair to recognize that many people involved, including Trezor people and Blue Wallet people, Rely people, and now they are, and Sparrow people, they are all backpedaling because of their reaction. And overall, I agree with Francis Puyol. Francis Puyol said, this reaction was misguided. but it's better, like the collateral damage of basically bashing good people for a mistake. It's better than the alternative of just legitimizing KYC creeping in. So if it's probably a little bit of friendly fire here, but still good enough because KYC sucks.
Yeah, no, and KYC, you know, we've done the research for that, guys. We had a KYC expert, Dr. Ron Paul. We've gone through the receipts with you guys. KYC is not effective at stopping crime like they market it to be. And you know, the biggest money launderers are banks themselves, right? And they're KYC'd, you know, through the ass, you know, and doesn't stop them from, you know, money laundering hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, right? And all they do is they get a slap on the wrist. And then another component is that KYC is a system of exclusion, right? It excludes vast numbers, 50% of the planet, because of where they were born or where jurisdiction they happen to live in, right? Now you're deemed un-KYCable, you're unbankable, and Bitcoin offers them something, and it offers them something because Bitcoin is a system of inclusion. So yeah, I agree. And Phil, this was a good meme because look at all the signal that we provided when we sidetracked. Anyways, next one is Bitcoin and 38K. Yeah, 38K gang. Here's Bitcoin. Here's crypto. Absolutely hilarious by Leota. Anyways, next one by Jason Bassler. When I first discovered libertarianism and thought we could fix the government, me after finally realizing that there is no fixing what must be destroyed. That is absolutely hysterical. My camera died, but it's turning on right now. Don't worry. I love this meme so much. Withdraw your Bitcoin from exchanges. Absolutely spot on, right? And it's the Glassnode statistics. By the way, guys, the outflow from exchanges it just keeps on going lower, which means that people are taking self-custody, which is awesome. Last one by MF Hodl. You know, sign this letter along with 270 of my colleagues calling on Spotify to immediately, I'm just going to summarize it, censor Joe Rogan. And it's, you know, the traditional bell curve that we use in Bitcoin so much. Man, podcast good. Sign this letter along with 270 of my colleagues. Freedom of speech or die. And it's so freaking true. Like these elites, man, that they have a college education, they're just it's like this time censoring speech is no different than every other time censoring speech. And while I figure out what the F is wrong with my camera, this happens every so often. It's because the battery's dying or dead. Phil, why don't...
It's OPSEC.
It's OPSEC. This is true.
The black market now.
This is true. Phil, why don't you rate the meme while I figure this out?
Absolutely. So look, those are all great memes, especially that last one though. I mean, it completely rings true, and it's just so pathetic that these educated people think that censorship is the answer. Anyways, nonetheless, for these memes, I am going to give them my cold, pretty much finished morning coffee.
Man.
That's right.
I'm going to one-up you.
It's espresso, though.
Okay, you give it coffee. I'm going to give it a black screen. What about you, Giacomo?
Well, since you're using black, I can probably use green in the sense of the Jade hardware wallet. So.
Oh,
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah,
okay.
I like it too. I got one, and I'm so far pretty impressed with it.
Yeah.
I don't want to piss off my friend Rodolfo, so I also have a cold card here.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well played.
Solid memes, a black screen, a cold card, and a coffee from Phil. Anyways, guys, we want to know if you agree with our scores, you disagree, let us know down in the comments. And make sure to subscribe to us on alternative video platforms like rumble.com and our personal favorite, bitcointv.com. They don't censor there because it's Bitcoin TV. And make sure to join our Telegram group so you could link us some dank Bitcoin memes to review on the Bitcoin Meme Review. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the daily news. The Daily News is brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. They make the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch. Like the 3D printed Bitcoin Honey Badger opens up, you put your favorite hardware wallet. Or the 3D printed Bitcoin Art Grenade also opens up, you put your favorite hardware wallet in there as well. Anyways, you can take advantage of the link down below for 5% off CryptoCloaks.com. So we've been covering this, right? And essentially what we're saying, especially if you've been watching this show, is the political left, right? And this is an article by The Guardian, right? It's very predominant, liberal corporate media, legacy media publication. They say, therefore, the oppressed people of the world. They say that, therefore, the excluded people of the world. They say, therefore, the little guy. But more and more and more, we're seeing more attacks of Bitcoin under the fake moral virtue of climate change. Because here's the thing, Bitcoin actually helps, the research and the adoption of renewable energies because it actually makes them profitable without government subsidy. And again, we see another attack from the political left, from the establishment left, and it even goes on to an article essentially says the case that we've been making these last couple days. Bitcoin is next climate flight for Democrats, which is an observation that we pointed out before this even came out. It's like, why are they attacking it? Aren't they supposed to be for the little guy? It doesn't make sense. But Phil, you ready for your blood to boil, dude? Check out this article.
It already is.
How do we solve Bitcoin's carbon problem? China's Bitcoin mining ban last summer, driven partly by environmental concerns.
Not true. Sorry.
So, again, right, this is the tone that they're trying to set, right? But I highlighted the part, right, because he backtracks a little bit later. Driven partly by environmental concerns, spent the industry spinning into chaos. Spinning into chaos, but it actually made it stronger, and it decentralized the hash rate. Of course, they can't say that. The announcement sparked a fire sale of the computers used to power Bitcoin, with mining companies scrambling to ship more than 2 million of their machines out of China. Although the country banned Bitcoin mining for a number of reasons, right? Wait a second. Hold on. I thought it was environmental concerns. Now it's a number of reasons. Although the country banned Bitcoin mining for a number of reasons, one was the massive energy consumption. Total backtrack. Bitcoin required and the impediment that posed China's goal of carbon neutrality by 2060. So is it world domination that they had a goal of? Or is it really carbon neutrality and they're using this climate, to essentially move anyways? Okay. 133 terawatt hours of year of electricity, more than entire countries of Ukraine and Norway. Here is the narrative again, right? Bitcoin uses more electricity than those countries. Well, unfortunately for this Guardian article, Nico brought the receipts. Anyways, here is a slideshow by the Bitcoin Mining Council, right? Bitcoin mining energy use versus total global energy use, right? 154,260 terawatt hours, right? Energy loss due to inefficiencies, and inefficiencies it's a simple concept to understand, right? Energy production, when energy is made, right? If you need to transport that energy over long distances, energy gets lost, right? Another component is that a lot of energy producers happen to be in isolated areas. And if they happen to be in isolated areas, they can't transport or store that energy effectively, right? So they have to use it on site. And if they don't use it, it gets lost, which is what this article is talking about, right? So when they're talking about this, they're being insincere. They're not correctly describing the situation. But if you say it and you phrase it in this way, guess what? Guess to the reaction. Oh my God, it uses so much energy, right? Anyways, the attack continues, but Bitcoin's energy consumption now poses an existential threat. It's not just a threat, it's an existential threat to the mining industry, with growing numbers of lawmakers around the world eager to follow China's lead. Okay, let's see how eager those lawmakers are, right? This is Wendy Rogers from Arizona. My bill, SCR 1013, amends the Arizona Constitution that it reinforces our rights to hold digital currency and are mutually agreed upon the mediums of exchange. Very enthusiastic. My bill, SB 1127, allows for paying taxes, fines, and other payments to the government in Bitcoin and a host of other shitcoins. Anyways, my bill exempts virtual currency from property taxes. And let's just check out this article. Texas governor is inviting Bitcoin miners to stabilize electric grid. Wait a second. Hold on. But I thought it was an existential threat to the mining industry. This can't be right. What is going on? In recent months, Texas Greg Abbott has made concentrated efforts to bring the crypto industry to his state. Besides seeing it as lucrative, he believes the growth of Bitcoin miners could counterintuitively help stabilize Texas' electricity grid, which has struggled to keep up with demand. It's not counterintuitive. If you have a buyer of last resort, right? Think about it. The energy, you don't have to guess the energy production anymore. It could be stable. So it's not counterintuitive, right? So anyways, this is just stupid. With a growing number of lawmakers around the world eager to follow China's lead, yes, let's follow the totalitarian country that made the world sick and has a history of killing tens of millions of their own population. Yes, let's follow the Chinese Communist Party lead. Why not? That sounds like a fabulous idea. Anyways, in theory, a greener Bitcoin is Are you ready, Phil? Here's the selling point. In theory, a greener Bitcoin is possible. The digital coin's energy consumption is tied to its underlying proof of work. It's proof of work that's bad. The ballooning energy consumption is fueling the popularity of a less energy-intensive alternative, proof of stake. Guys, the narrative, this isn't a coincidence that you have the same narrative when, cleaning up, remember the panel in front of Congress that was called Cleaning Up Cryptocurrency? And you had the same, let's shill proof of stake, which coincidentally happens to be supported by the World Economic Forum, which happens to be coincidentally supported by Ethereum. Yes, let's go for that, which we know that proof of stake does not offer the same decentralization as Bitcoin, does not offer the same anti-censorship resistance as Bitcoin, right? It doesn't offer that proof of stake. Anyways, arguably the first Bitcoin skeptic, his first reaction, they're talking about a shitcoin founder, Kathleen, co-founder of Tezos. Yeah, let's listen to a shitcoin that competes with Bitcoin to get her opinion about what she thinks about proof of work. If this is successful, it's going to absorb all the energy in the universe, and it's going to be terrible. Listen, there's a direct correlation between human prosperity and the amount of energy that the human race uses. So, in my opinion, I hope the human race uses and absorbs all the energy of the universe, because the human race would be it would flourish. It'd be extremely wealthy. I hope Bitcoin uses all of the energy of the sun. I'm saying it right now. It would be better for everybody. Tezos is built on proof of stake instead, which uses a consensus mechanism different from Bitcoin's. Rather than miners competing with computing power, different nodes of distributed network competing by committing stakes of tokens, staking a greater number of tokens, which risk being forfeited in the event of fraud. But we all know this is bullshit. Although Bramer says environmental concerns aren't what pushed her company to pick proof of stake, it's becoming more advantageous as scrutiny on proof of work ramps up, right? So again, look, proof of stake can run on a dinky Raspberry Pi controller. Yeah. So again, false narratives, so much bullshit, right? But look, at the end of the day, this is a mainstream publication that, again, is touting out the same narrative as the World Economic Forum, the same narrative as the people that testified in front of Congress. And we have another article that confirmed that, hey, Democrats, you should go after Bitcoin because it's bad for climate change. And then you have essentially the article advocating, yes, let's do the same as the Chinese Communist Party. That sounds like a great idea. They're against proof of stake, not because of the climate. Because if you look into it, if you do a little bit more research, Bitcoin is actually good for green energy because it actually makes green energy potentially profitable. Without subsidies, solar and wind are not profitable. With Bitcoin, solar and wind could be profitable because wind, right? Again, the reason that solar and wind don't really work so much is because solar makes the most amount of energy during the day, but people use the most amount of energy at night. So you can't, it's hard to store electricity, especially in batteries. They aren't that great. So you have to use it right then and there. With Bitcoin, there's always a buyer of last resort, right? But if there's no Bitcoin, then where does that energy go? And with wind, it's the same concept. You're not always going to get wind when people are using energy the most, right? So Germany and a lot of countries in Europe pivoted away from those dirty fossil fuels, and they tried making the transition to greener energies, and it was a total fucking clusterfuck. It was a catastrophe. Their energy prices went through the roof, and it's funny because they still buy their fossil energy from Russia. But as long as they're not making it in the country, they have that moral virtue to hide behind. So again, it's cheap moral virtue. It's an insidious goal that they're trying to come. They don't like proof of stake because they cannot control it. That's the reason that, they don't like proof of work because they don't like to control it. This is the reason the Chinese Communist Party bans Bitcoin mining. They can't control Bitcoin. That's why they didn't ban it. They didn't ban it for environmental concerns. When the fuck has the Chinese Communist Party cared about the environment? If you visit Shanghai or Beijing, they have literally clouds of pollution in that city. When they had to throw the Olympics, they essentially banned all cars from driving so the smog could clear out, so that people would go in there and they would, at least have a clean city to experience. But on every other day, it's dirty as fuck from the pollution, right? So these people don't care. They're hiding behind moral virtue for insidious means. And if you still don't believe me, I'm sure you guys remember Hillary Clinton going on that talk and essentially saying that Bitcoin and mining is a threat to nation states. Just connect the dots. This narrative, this combined narrative, isn't a coincidence. Go ahead.
Nico, just one time that Hillary Clinton said the truth. It is a threat for nation states.
No, I know it's a total threat. I agree. I think it's a threat to the bureaucrats that are essentially parasites, and they're taking advantage of their citizens and extracting wealth and energy and time from them through fiat currencies. Yes, absolutely. It's definitely a threat.
Honest moment by Hillary Clinton.
It's a threat to them, but it's actually extremely beneficial to the people. El Salvador hasn't even been legal Bitcoin hasn't even been legal tender in El Salvador for a year, and more people have a Bitcoin wallet than the legacy financial system, right? So again, we want uncorruptible money, and the only way that you get uncorruptible money is by protecting it with a wall of fucking energy, right? To make copying or cheating the system, it has to cost something, right? That's what makes proof of work awesome. And with proof of stake, it doesn't cost anything, which is why they can control it on a fundamental level. I just made it super simple, right? That's what it is. They can't control it, so they're trying to attack it with a narrative. But again, I think they have a losing battle here because they will not be able to replace the incentives that the Bitcoin network offers. And you've already seen this in China. China banned Bitcoin mining, and it's estimated that still around 20% of the hash rate is still located in China. Think about how fucking crazy that is, right? In one of the most totalitarian countries in the world, people can't resist the economic incentives of Bitcoin, and they're still mining that freaking Bitcoin. So anyways, I know I went on a little bit of a rant, but when I read that article, Phil, it made my fucking blood boil.
That's absolutely brutal. And I just want to point out, right, they're in this article, they're selling, they're just sticking to the sizzle. They're not explaining anything that you really need to know. So they understand their audience. Okay, they understand that their audience will fall for the virtue signal, but yet is going to completely miss out on the most important aspects of Bitcoin's energy use, but also why Bitcoin is so important and how the proof of work chain protects Bitcoin. So it is the most ridiculous thing. You know what? To me, it just illustrates what they think of all of us.
Yeah, they think we're fucking idiots, and this is an amazing little video from Greg. Total Bitcoin energy usage, it's tiny. Total energy generated 155. Total energy wasted 50. So total Bitcoin energy usage. Bitcoin only uses 0.18. this is the amount of energy wasted, and this is the amount of energy generated. Yeah, Bitcoin could capture a little bit of that. That energy was already going to waste. Nobody's going to get hurt. And what are you going to get in return? You're going to get an uncorruptible money. I think that's a great fucking deal, right? Especially if you're living in a totalitarian country that is not a big fan of private property. Bitcoin could offer that private property for the first time ever in human history. They don't give a shit about that. They would rather keep control themselves, which is why they release these propaganda pieces, because that's what they are. They know the research. They're smart people. Make no mistake. They know what we're talking about. They're choosing not to listen, and they're spouting out talking points. Elizabeth Warren, Hillary Clinton, and I really think, Phil, it's because it's a threat to their fucking power. It's a threat to their parasitism. I think I totally made up that word. But yeah, they're going to keep attacking it. And it's our job to keep fighting this fucking FUD, which is why we cover it. Giacomo?
No, well, I mean, you said it all. I think the only interesting thing to say is that this is a point where actually, so usually as a maximalist, I have an embarrassment, which is I am absolutely pro free market. I think that people should be free to do also dumb things and things that don't work. They should be free to do whatever they want. So usually I against regulating the crypto market or the shitcoin market. So I'm against no coiner that usually they want to control everything. And when that's the kind of fight, I side with shitcoiners that should be free to do whatever they want. But this is an actual case where shitcoiners and statist no coiners, they will actually team up, usually not all of them, but most of them, like you said, like you just seen on Tezos case, they will team up in order to ban Bitcoin. Why? Because since altcoins and shitcoins cannot be scarce, they have to replicate Bitcoin infinite times. They cannot be the same as Bitcoin. If they copy Bitcoin too much, then you just stick with the original. The only way you can try to compete is to getting away from Bitcoin. But since Bitcoin made some reasonable choices, the only alternative you have is just to go into some unreasonable myths and some bullshit, like proof of stake is a broken concept that doesn't work. It was first proposed in 1998 by Wei Dai, and it was criticized because it doesn't offer long-term security. It doesn't work. And also, if it works, ultimately, it's economically equivalent to proof of work anyway from the point of view of overall consumption. So it just doesn't make any sense. But shitcoiners and shitcoin apologism constituencies like the crypto advocacy groups, they will actually try to damage the comprehension of Bitcoin. They will try to misinform people about Bitcoin in order to help their shitcoin differentiate and compete.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's just, it's unfortunate that it's becoming a partisan matter, and it's a partisan matter which, like, the shitcoiners and one side of the political aisle is on that side, and then I didn't want this to happen in this way, but does it surprise me? It does not surprise me, and I think it really highlights the fact that these people, although they say they're in for inclusivity, although they say they're for the underdog, they're not. They're in it for power, and they're in it for themselves, and it's so fucking unfortunate. And again, Bitcoin, one of the unintended features that Satoshi added is that it just shines a light of truth on everything, and it just uncovers these totalitarians on both sides, and it shows them for what they are. It's like they don't really want what they say they want. They're really in it for their own benefit, and it's just crazy, man. And Phil, unfortunately, I think this is going to keep heating up. And, hopefully there are, Democrats, at least in the U.S., that at least, are for inclusivity, right? But it looks so far that, the at least the establishment Democrats, like Hillary Clinton, like Elizabeth Warren, no, they're not. No, they want power. That's what I'm seeing it, and look, Trump, for example, he's on that boat too, right? At least he tells you, he's like, I don't like Bitcoin. No, that's not Trump's accent, but he's like, I don't like Bitcoin. I can't freaking do it. He's like, I don't like Bitcoin because it threats the dollar, because it competes with it. At least he's being honest, right? And look, and the Republican Party, I'm not gonna lie, whether you like it or not, there's a lot of governors. So the governor of Texas, governor of Wyoming, senator of Wyoming, governor of Florida, right? DeSantis. They're all saying, mayor of Miami, hey, we love Bitcoin and shitcoins. Come here. Hopefully they'd like Bitcoin more than shitcoins, but hey, at least it's a start. But anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why do you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. The software releases are brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out. CipherSafe.io, the best place to store your seed, either in the Cypher wheel or the all-new Cypher grid that comes with punch tool and tamper-resistant wire. The link is down below. We've got Phoenix wallet version 1.4.20 that was released. That is down below. Guys, rain or shine, we post Monday through Saturday unless we tell you that we don't. Look for our audio-only episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. Before we go, I want to give a very special shout out to our awesome guest. You give him a follow. Giacomo will put his Twitter down in the link description. And of course, guys, if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the Bitcoin news from the pleb perspective and the catastrophic fails from the parasitic shitcoiners, definitely consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin, and we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for a brand new episode.
Censorship is always justified by the censor.